everybody. My name is Kevin Element, and I'm going to do a quick tutorial on how to get into Jira and just get started and create a project using some simple techniques. Keep it simple. First things first, let's pretend we're initiating a project. We're just getting started. Where do we get started? Well, let's pretend our project is we're getting married. Right? We should plan everything we do, because when you employ project management techniques, in the long run, it's going to help you out. It's going to make things less stressful. Not that weddings can be stressful or anything. They can be, and it's usually because we're not planned. So if we use Jira for everything we do in life, maybe we're building a deck, or we're looking at having a barbecue on the weekend. Why not? It's fun. Let's take a look. Okay, first things first, you've created your account. I'm going to assume that much. We're going to create a space. Well, they call them spaces, and this is where projects live. Now you're given a lot of different options. There's different types of project management pieces, like we got Kanban and we got roadmaps, and we even have scrums as a different type. We're going to stick with project management, and if you have to look through the templates to find it, take your time. You want to make sure that you're looking at a project management template for this example. Click on that. Let's give it a name. This is going to be our wedding. It's corporate managed. We're going to leave that off for now because we're a team. We'll leave it like that. The axis is open. And this key is kind of important. It creates a unique identifier for every record that's going into the database. That sounds boring. Let's not really worry about it, but I'm going to say wedding day, WD dash, and that's going to be, project keys must start with uppercase letters. All right, so let's just leave it as WD. It'll put in the dash and a number every time that this increases by one record in the database. You'll see what I mean in a second. I hit go, and we sit back and we wait. Several moments later, it doesn't take a long time, but I'll let you know what's going on in the background. So up on Atlassian servers, we have a big old database being created, and a lot of work's happening. So our space is created. We can invite some people if we wanted to, but I'll do this later. All right, so we're looking at the board. Along the top here, we see we have summary, board, list, calendar, timeline. And I was a little confused at first, coming from a project management background of I'm an amateur. I'm not a PIMS. I don't have my certifications, but I have used things like Microsoft Project. But usually I see what are called Gantt charts. In this context here, they're just calling them timelines. They're sort of the same, a little bit different, but we're looking at what's referred to as a more of an agile workflow rather than the traditional waterfall. So we got to do, we got in progress, we got done. Maybe we want to add a status. Maybe we're going to get blocked along the way. We're going to get blocked by a cost. Something's too expensive. We can't get in touch with somebody. Somebody gets sick. All right, let's just add that status. And over time, we're going to create a collection of these if need be. The default 3 are fine. One thing I like to do, we could use the board to create all of our different, what we call issues. But I'm going to use this thing called a list. That's really easy to me. That works with my brain. That makes a lot of sense for me. And I wanted to be mindful of something. When you hit the create button, by default, you have this lightning bolt icon, this purple lightning bolt. Those are good. They're entire work streams where you might have subtasks beneath them. I'm just going to switch this over to be task. I'm just going to leave it as the checkbox, and we're just going to change the issue type to being a task. So what needs to be done? I have to order flowers at some point. And what's nice about this, we don't have to be chronological. We don't have to think too deep about when and how and where. We're just trying to get all these ideas out of our mind and onto paper for now. So we're going to order some flowers. What else do we got to do? We got to get a cake. We're going to get a wedding cake. Okay, we're going to, what else are we going to do? We're going to send invitations. And these are the moments where you say, okay, well, I can't possibly send the invitations until I order invitations. This is why listing is so powerful, because you can just get all of that thinking out of your mind. What else do we got to do? We have to get a limousine. Are we going to get a limo? Maybe not. We haven't talked to the wife yet about it. It doesn't matter. We can delete that later. So we'll notice that we're getting a list of all of these different checkboxes. Now you got to be mindful. If I leave here and say I go to a different view, say I go back to the board, I'm like, wow, it's already on the board, sitting here ready to be worked with. I can start to move these things into different statuses. So let's say we're going to start with ordering the invitations. I can drag this over here to in progress. Okay, we're working on that now. So cool thing about Jira, it's important to point out, is you can start to create rules and workflows on top of these different interesting moments. So for example, there could be a manager behind the scenes who's listening to the blocked column or the in progress column. So the minute a worker moves something over to in progress, an email can be sent off to another individual to let them know that something's been started, which could literally initiate an entire other project and start moving work forward in a completely different context, which is, to me, it's really cool. So let's take a moment to breathe and let's look at what's happening here. Every time I created an issue, a task, it used, there's those letters, WD-1, WD-2, and I use WD as like a wedding day. I just picked that when I created the space, when I created the project. So that's starting to come through. Now watch carefully. If I go back and continue to work on my list, and I hit create a new task, sometimes you got to be careful. This can work against you and end up changing to a lightning bolt. It changes to a work stream. So sometimes if you're leaving a page or you start a new session, you close the browser, you go home, you log back in, you might want to just take a good look at this first, just to make sure that you're creating the right type of issue. So what else do we need to do? Let's say we have to call the parents. We got to let the parents know, right? Call the parents. Right? That's a new thing to do. Well, it's WD-6, and sometimes people get confused because these are not necessarily in the order of things. They're just unique names. I like to look at it like, if this is a phone number, this is the speed dial. So often you punch in a phone number into your phone and 519-888-8579, and you don't remember that phone number when you assign it a name. So you say Joe Smith equals some number, but then you never remember that number again. So that's what kind of like these things are. They're unique identifiers. It's like a person cannot have the same phone number, but on your phone, you can have Joe, 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 Joe. You can have 12 Joes. You can have 100 Joes, but what makes them unique is their number, their phone number. So that's what these unique identifiers do in a database, is to keep that record completely unique. And that happens all the way through the system as you start to create more and more data. But don't get confused. They don't mean that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 has to happen in this order. That's not important. So we could drag this, call the parents. We should probably let them first. So I'm going to let them know first. So I'm going to drag that to the top of the work. This is just visually in my mind helping me to see things in order. And I'm going to probably work on the flowers later. Put that down here. I'll drop it there. It doesn't matter. We can fix all this stuff up later. I'm going to, send the invitations, but I should probably order the invitations first. Let's get those. And, before we do that, we should probably create the guest list. That's a job we got to do. So that's what's cool about this, is you start to really drill down into the minutia, I call it, or the detail. And you start to think about these moments where you can start moving these things around into priority for your own brain. So call the parents, create a guest list, order the invitations based on the guest list, send those invitations. We're going to do all that. Oh boy, what do we got to do? We got to rent the hall for the party. Oh boy, we got to get a DJ. And even though these things are popping up, in front of me here, created work. I'm just typing behind that and it's working. It's creating all these things, all these issues. I keep using the word issue because we have to use the right language for project management. So a task, what are they calling this here? Work. This is kind of new to my brain. A work stream, because I'm used to hearing the word epic. So an epic is like a big, long job, like getting married, buying a house, getting a car, having children. Those are big epics. They're epic scopes of work. And then inside each one of those, you have a ton of little tasks. So we could, and I'll just probably get flamed in the comments for this by people who actually know what they're doing with project management. Haha. It's a joke. I do know what I'm doing, but I'll create a work stream called Getting Married. And that's just going to sit all the way up at the top. And this is a big stream of work. All right, let's move this all the way up here. So this is an epic. It's a work stream, but in other workflows, it's also referred to as an epic. So we have these lightning bolts and check marks. These are different types of tasks. They're different types of moments of work that are in the really granular world of project management. They become really important. They're just types of work that we're going to do. Now, one thing I want to point out, if we go all the way over and there's a scroll bar on the bottom of this, if you have a nice wide monitor, then this works a lot better. Maybe if I collapse the sidebar, oh, that's nice. I get a little bit more of a workspace here. Can I drag these around? I can shrink this down maybe. Yeah, I can. Assignees, I can shrink that down. I can do a lot of cool work on the actual Jira Live web service here. They're really beautiful in how they've actually designed their stuff. So we can move around these different columns as well. We can drag and drop them in different places if need be. What I want to point out is this column here. This is really important, this ... So this is where you'll find a lot of other useful tools where we can, for example, should be allowed to delete something. So if you made a mistake, don't worry about it. We can just select delete here. The other thing we can do is add along the top here. If we configure our columns, we might want to also include, there's so much in here, holy moly. We might want to put in start date. So we'll add start date to this field for this data set here, and then we actually get a control, which is kind of neat. We can drag this over to here, start and do, and then we click on this. Because it's a data type called date, it'll actually pop up a calendar control for us. So we can say that this is going to start on the 9th and it's going to end on the 9th. So we're going to call the parents. This is getting married. So we're going to get married way off in the future. This is going to be August 28th. I'm just making all this up. This isn't real. So I'm just playing. I strongly encourage you all to just get in here and play around. So if June 9th is when we're going to kick this off, when do we call the parents? Let's call them, we'll sit down, we'll have breakfast, we'll talk about how we want to tell the parents. We're going to make that a big, it's a big deal, right? And we're going to call them on Saturday afternoon. And that's going to end on Saturday afternoon. Right. And then we're going to create the guest list, because we'll talk to the parents. We'll have a few hours. They'll probably have some ideas on who's going to be on the guest list. And we'll start that on the 14th. Now, we don't want to rush this process. We want to spend the whole 2 weeks in June thinking about who's going to come to this party. All right, so order invitations. Once we have that nailed down, we can probably do that after the 27th. Get in there, maybe Monday we'll confirm it with everybody, and 30th we'll send it. And that's like really straightforward, and it'll just be one day thing that happens on a few hours on the day. So what you're doing is just sort of imagineering things. You're just painting a picture and you're having fun. Over here on the timeline, also known as Gantt chart, magic has already happened. There you go. So if you're working on a Gantt chart to begin with, you get stuck with all this minutia, I call it, all this like momentary detail. Yuck, I don't like it. And you're focused on all these little lines and bars, and it's like, just make a list, people. You know what I mean? Just list the stuff that you got to do. It's fun, it's fast, it gets you thinking about the little bits. You start going back in here and reworking it, dragging and dropping these to reorder them. It's really fast and easy. And then it's cool because you can send this out and share it to the world. You go back to the board. Right? The world can only, you can say actually that only my fiance and my best man and my best woman are going to have access to the board. Nothing else. We don't want to have them messing around with stuff. And all they can do is drag and drop. You can create that level of security. So getting married is something that we're going to do, and eventually you want to drop that over into done. But when the day comes, you call your parents. It's like, look at the board and just be like, oh, that was such a fun conversation, and we called the parents and it is done. The creation of the guest list was tough, and we're currently blocked on this for a reason. Why? Maybe we can't get in touch with Joe. We really want to invite Joe. He's our best friend. We've hung out with that guy for 20 years, but where is Joe? He's just not picking up his phone this week. Is he on vacation? We don't know. So it's blocked. We got to maybe slip that work into the future, which is dangerous because whenever you slip tasks into the future, you're slipping the whole project into the future when this happens. Okay, let's go back to the timeline. There's a fun way to do this. You notice these statuses are already updating. That's cool. So create guest lists and then order invitations. We know that we cannot possibly order the invitations until we have the guest list. So there is what's called a dependency. Jira's got this beautiful tool. You shrink this column down. There's a beautiful tool where if you carefully put your mouse cursor over these regions of work, you'll see there's a dot on the top and a dot on the bottom. You can drag the link to a work item. It might not let me do this. I'd have to zoom in a bit to make it easier. But you drag the line to that, and now you have what's called a dependency. And the dependency might have its own details. You can go in and you can make notes about what made the dependency happen. Maybe it's you can't do this because you need to talk to Joe. We're not going to be able to order the invitations until we hear back from Joe. So these two items might slip into the future, which then ultimately, if there's other dependencies in the future, cause other kinds of problems. Now you can work the timeline. So get a cake, we can just say, okay, let's just click willy-nilly into get a cake anywhere. We'll do that sometime in the future. Once you click, you get a start and end date. You can drag these little bars around and you can move these around like so. Double click on it. There's data. There's information about that. Who's going to do it? Well, I wonder if I can say Joe Schmo at schmo.schmo, right? And then that person will get an email to deal with the cake. You call them or on the telephone. And description, it's going to be a velvet red chocolate cake, 14 tiers tall. Get it? Or you can add a Loom video. You can just drop in a little video in there. It's super cool if you have a Loom account. So subtasks, if there's work that has to relate to this specifically, you can start dropping them in here. Think about this one world all by itself. Hit save. What's going on here? Configure it. There's a lot of depth to Jira. There's a ton of depth. So I mean, you might be asking yourself, why don't I just use Trello or Monday.com, or why don't I just use Microsoft Project? Because this tool is online, it's free, it has infinite depth. You could spend your life learning at Jira and If you got good at it, guess what? You can get a job being a project manager. You have to get your certifications, but trust me on this. You learn Jira, you put that onto your resume and really understand it. I mean, like, work it hard, really, really, truly understand what the software is. You can apply that. You can apply that knowledge and that training to what you're doing on your resume, which is fantastic. I'm going to leave it here. I think this covers off what I need for my first assignment with my students. So we got the board, we got the list. We've added some things to the list. We went down here, this column over here. We learned how to delete items. We learned how to click up here on the configure columns to add different types of things, like the start and end date. We played with the timeline a little bit. We added a dependency, and we've really focused on the list because that's super critical. We're going to come back to epics and all those other things in future videos. So thank you very much. We will see you all soon. Happy project designing.